What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing an update to Yubel. Now, this does not involve any ThemeSmith whatsoever. I've also tried to keep in mind a budget. So for those of you that are new players, returning players, or want a competitive deck without breaking the bank, especially when I would expect cards like Nightmare Throne to get a reprint in the upcoming Megatins, and then also with Phantom of Yubel slightly cheaper, you should be able to pick up some of these cards very, very easily. That being said, if you do have a bit more money to splash, a card you might want to be looking into would be Dominus Impulse, but I also expect that card to get a reprint in some of the near future. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you'll miss out on any more upcoming content. Massive shout out to Carlos. Carlos is someone from Locals who's been playing Yubel for a long, long time, but they've been playing it on a budget every single second and every single step. Like, it took them a while before they got access to Phantom of Yubel. They also took them a while before they had to slowly start get cards of the ThemeSmith. So even going all the way back to like Unchained Yama, like they had to wait to get that. And they've been playing it consistently, and one of the cards they always utilize in their deck is Super Polymerization, and I feel Yubel has one of the best Super Poly targets right now, especially when you're looking at this format. Some decks are considering playing Super Polymerization, but then they're like, oh, what targets do I choose? How consistent can it be? Whereas Yubel are like, you know what, I've got the best Super Poly target that also gives me burn con and gives me a bit of protection. With that said, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to take you through the profile, explain what we've got, and talk you through why we've got it. So starting off with 2 Spirit of Yubel. Some players might consider to play free in a particular version like this, you can do, but it's so easy to recycle this with Phantom of Yubel, and of course being able to get access to it very easily, that 2 is more than enough, backed up with 1 Yubel and 1 Terra Incarnate. Now, in a ThemeSmith version, some people might not choose to use Terra Incarnate, but I think in this particular version, it's more than well being able to utilize it. And you can also consider the Unending Nightmare as well, which Carlos was playing at Locals this weekend. But I feel this is the minimum you're going to want. For the starters of the deck, we do play 3 Samsara D Lotus, and we're going to be backing this up with 2 Gruesome Grave Squirmer. Again, all relatively cheap and easy to pick up. The other starter of the deck will be 3 Dark Beckoning Beast, followed up by 3 Opening the Spirit Gates. Now, if anything, I would arguably say you could afford to cut Dark Beckoning Beast down to 2. Now, the reason I say that is because when you activate normal summon Dark Beckoning Beast and your first search is going to be Opening Spirit Gates, Opening Spirit Gates is mandatory to add a Dark Beckoning Beast, or like a card that lists Uriah, Hamon, or Raziel. So the issue is, if you start with Dark Beckoning, add the gates and get drolled, you can't go any further. But if you start with Opening Spirit Gates and you search out a Dark Beckoning, you're still good to go, because you can normal summon down the Dark Beckoning, you won't get a search of opening, you can link it off into an Almirage, discard a Spirit of Yubel, that will then allow you to bring back the Spirit of Yubel, and then you can set a card and you can get to play a little bit more. So if you're ever considering cutting something because draw is running rampant, I would probably advise cutting down Dark Beckoning Beast to 2, rather than Opening Spirit Gates, because I'd personally much rather see Opening Spirit Gates than Dark Beckoning Beast, but that's just my preference. Then we do have 3 Nightmare Throne, backed up by a Terraforming. Nightmare Throne is actually probably like one of its all-time lows right now, and as I said, if it's a little bit pricey for you, you can still be able to get hold of this in the Megatins, which is going to be out in, I believe, September, and I highly expect that card to be in there. So that was something that kind of keeps your budget a little bit tidier, depending on what you have access to and what you don't have access to. So that might be something you want to consider. Just to kind of tidy it out. There we go. And then the other card you're going to want to consider is Nightmare Pain. You're either going to play 1 or 2 of it. I like to play 1 Mature Chronicle and 1 Nightmare Pain, just because the Mature Chronicle lets me get a bit more resource. So with 1 counter, I can special summon a Yubel from the graveyard. With 2, I get to add any of my banished cards back to the hand, so I can add back a Nightmare Pain or anything else that might be banished. 3, I get to banish a card on the field. Banish a card from the deck. 4, I get to destroy a card on the field. And 5, I get to add Super Polymerization from the deck to the hand. And we are going to be utilizing Super Polymerization in this build, so you get even more consistency to get you direct access to it. We're then playing a very small Unchained package of 1 Shavara and 1 Escape. You can play Abomination if you want to. I feel that you don't want to be playing 2 of the traps. You only want to play like 1 or the other. You can play 2 Shavara if you want to. I feel that 1 is more than enough. For the hand traps of the deck, we've gone with 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Droll, and 3 Imperm. And as previously mentioned, if you have access to Dominus Impulse or you don't mind buying them, please wait, because I do expect them to have a reprint. Then that's something else you might want to consider, alongside 3 Molchummy Fluoros. Now, Perulia is probably a bit more expensive than that one. The Fluoros, if you've acted quickly, should be relatively cheap, but I think they're like £10 base for a super rare. If you don't have access to this, you can put in stuff like Ghost Ogres, Ghost Bells, but really it's just in here as a deterrent for going second. So you can swap these out as well for cards that will be better going second for you. So we're already playing Super Polymerization, which is going to be like your OG, like your GOAT card of this entire deck, because it can break fields. If your opponent lets you get a Yubel in access, you'll be able to break the field that way. If not, you do have access to other generic Super Poly targets, so it gives you a little bit more flexibility. And then the final two cards we play is the one cross out and the one call by, because Ash, Fluoros, Imperm, well less so Imperm, but Ash, Fluoros and Droll are cards that can cause you issues, so being able to cross out or call by both of them is probably your most effective route. If you are massively worried about them, you can also play Instant Fusion as another one-of option that will get you access to a Millennium Eyes Restrict, which then allows you to kind of absorb a Droll or absorb an Ash, so it gives you a little bit more of aligned protection. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to show you the extra deck. As I mentioned, I'll try to keep this relatively cheap on budget. It's also slightly more future-proof if something does happen to the Fiendsmith engine on the Forbidden Limited list. Moving into the extra deck, so for our fusion monsters, of course, we are playing the one Phantom of Yubel. It's a shame that this has gone to 1. I'm hoping Konami might want to consider bringing it back to 2, but maybe that then makes Yubel a little bit too more unbalanced. But I feel the deck has really kind of been put in check because of the Molchummies. But I would not be disappointed if Phantom came back to 2. Another one we play is Yubel, the Loving Defender. So this card is your ideal Super Poly target because it requires a Yubel monster and then one or more effect monsters on the field. So Super Poly using your own Yubel, which can be Spirit or Yubel or even Terra Incarnate, all the way into a Loving Defender. And Loving Defender on top of that is if you need it anymore, it inflicts 500 damage to your opponent for each material you use. So including your opponent's and yours, you can end up burning your opponent for like 2,500 sometimes 1,000 is all you need. Then for your generic Super Body targets, you've got the one Garura and the one Mud Dragon. You could consider something like a Dracus Tapelia if you wanted to, because then that allows you to deal with any dark monster on the field, and that's when you can end up dealing with a Makumo, but it really comes down to what you have access to in the environment. We play the one XZs in the form of the Varudras. You can play the Super Dreadnought Cannon Gustav Max for that burn damage, but that's really just going to come down to if you feel you're going to need it or not. I feel that you've got Loving Defender to do that job for you. Then for the links, we do play the one Almirage, the one Muckraker, 2 Unchained Soul Lord Yama, with the one Unchained Soul of Rage. Like double Yama just gives you a bit more of a grind game. I do also like to play the other brothers, so I like to play the one Anguish and the one Abomination. Abomination is also your budget alternative to a Bower Q, but I feel that a Bower Q is like £10 to £15, is a very easy accessible card. If you don't have access to it, then you've got the Abomination as a much cheaper alternative should you need to. And the last two cards is the one Super Star Slayer Typhon and the one SP Little Knight, just basically your generic card you're going to want to be working your way into off the back of Rage, or if your opponent has just summoned from the extra deck and then stopped you building your field, you just get to go into a Typhon and then pretty much close the duel out there. Well, at least close that turn out, and then you try and kind of crack back a little bit more depending on what they've tried to throw at you. So that's pretty much it for the entire main deck and the extra deck. For the side deck, it really does come down to the environment. Like if you've got a load of Malice running around, you're going to be considering Lanciers. If you've got a load of Mitsurugis running around, you might want to consider Bestials. You might want to consider DD Crows. You can also consider like stuff like Salesban if you have a direct weakness to a particular card. You've got Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm to deal with your opponent's spells and traps. And then you're probably going to be looking at maybe evenly matched if you want to try and break your field. True Tactics Thrust if you have access to it, but you have a lot of flexibility. You can pretty much play whatever you feel is going to be the most effective for that environment you're taking it to. So that's it for the entire profile. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'm always more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.